Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk HR. As always, I am your host, Rick Jenkins, and I appreciate you joining us. Today, we're going to have a fun time. We're going to talk about artificial intelligence, which is my favorite topic, folks. It seems like almost every episode, regardless if we're doing Let's Talk Business, Let's Talk Manufacturing, or right here at Let's Talk HR, we've always got somebody in here talking about AI. It's a lot of fun. And today I got two folks that are really up to speed on what you need to know about incorporating AI into your HR offices. One, Ashley Brooks. She is the Vice President of Workplace Strategies at HTI, or Human Technologies Incorporated. And then we got this guy, Jeff Yelton, CEO and founder of a new company called Cphere. Jeff, Ashley, welcome.
Absolutely. Great to be here.
Looking forward to it.
It is good to have you guys here. Ashley, you were here last time on this episode. Jeff, I hadn't met you until you walked in, so I'm going to start with you.
All righty.
I found out not too long ago from you that you are retired now. I believe you retired from Ingram Micro.
Yes.
But you started a new company. Tell us about it.
Well, once I retired, I found that there were a lot of people like me that had retired but didn't want to get completely out of the workforce. And so I got a group of them together. And so and most of these people have got 35 to 40 years experience in the industry. And one of the things that I found from working with some private equity firms is they look for people that have deep experience, operational experience, to bring into the companies to work with them. And so I got a group together, and we are now offering our services out to private equity firms or mid-market firms to help them with whatever they need, whether it be IT, finance, sales, strategy, whatever it happens to be.
Ashley, good to have you back. Tell the folks what you do real quick.
Absolutely. So I'm Vice President of Workplace Strategies. It's our division focused on helping employers be employers of choice to attract and retain the right talent and make sure that we're not just filling jobs, but we're retaining the employees and developing them.
Excellent. Look at you. Just quick and right to the point. I love it. All right, let's talk about my new favorite topic. It's not even new. It's been my favorite topic for a while, and that's artificial intelligence, or AI. Anytime I can talk about AI, it is a good day. Now, it takes a whole lot of forms, and we're not going to talk about all the stuff because we could be here forever, but we're going to talk about what you refer to, Jeff, as large language models, which is basically, as I understand it, just generative AI with things like ChatGPT and a few other alternatives, which I'm going to ask you about. Here, I asked ChatGPT. GPT is the best thing since ... and it gave me a serious answer. It said ChatGPT is the best thing since Wi-Fi. Suddenly it feels like the world is at our fingertips in ways we never imagined possible. But then I said, add a little humor to it, right? And it gave me about 15 responses. I'm going to give you 3. It's the best thing since autocorrect, except it actually understands what I mean. It's the best thing since wireless headphones, liberating, convenient, and I never get tangled up in the details. It's the best thing since the office coffee machine, fueling productivity with every interaction. Now, every interaction. So, okay, that's kind of silly or whatever, but the point is that you can ask any question and you can get back really good answers.
You really can.
Tell us about the large language model generative AI.
All right, I'm going to start with AI just because of something you said earlier, and that is AI has been around for a long time. It actually started in 1956 by a guy named John McCarthy. He got a group together at Dartmouth, a bunch of really smart computer scientists, to try to teach computers how to communicate with people in human terms instead of computer terms, which was all bits and bytes back then. And it went up and down through the years. And when I joined IBM in 1981, we were taught about it. But it wasn't until just about 2015, 2016 that the whole concept of large language models came about. And it came about because of a few technologies that came together. One of them was having access to a lot of really big data sets. And so think of the internet and having the ability to download all the data from the internet. Had the ability to run very complex algorithms against that. And an algorithm is nothing more than like a recipe. Think of that as how you're cooking. You need the computer to do certain things against that data. And then the last piece of it is you need a lot of compute power. And so it just so happens that all 3 of those came together in the 2016, 2017 range with some technologies around large language model, transformative technology. You don't need to know a lot about BERT, GPT technologies that all came together. It was that confluence of technologies and the power of the computers that allowed us to have large language models. So this is something a lot of people mistake, and they think there's some magic to it. All a large language model is a statistical engine. So what it's trying to do is when you wrote your prompt in for that you just read us, it's trying to think of what's the next word that would come. And that's why it has to have this large data set. So it goes through and it keeps checking to see what the statistical next word is going to be. And then it comes up with that. And the reason I tell you that is some people are scared to play with ChatGPT. They're scared that it's going to learn something about them or it's going to do something nefarious. And all it is that statistical engine. So there's nothing that it's not sentient. Sentient means it has no feelings.
Right.
Even though you see males and females today, they're having love affairs with their chat box that are going on today, which is amazing to me. But it's just a statistical engine that's really, really, really good about telling you what the next word is in the question that you just asked it.
I got it. Okay, so Ashley, now to you.
Yeah.
We are using artificial intelligence in every single industry, right? I mean, it's everywhere now.
Absolutely.
But the thing is we're trying to figure out how to use it.
Yes.
Right? We're still learning that, right? And I would assume in your industry that is the case, that you're still learning exactly how to apply it and maybe what to apply and what to do. What are you seeing out there? How are people using it?
Yeah, so I think really the good question would be, in what facet of HR are we not able to use it? You can really use it in almost every facet of HR, anything from hiring to onboarding to training to development to career planning, even to investigations. I think what I'm seeing, though, is that we're seeing a lot more individual usage. There's a difference in usage versus adoption. And so what we're seeing right now is a lot of individuals are using it to see how they can, put in prompts like you put in to get answers back or help them with, running data analysis, things like that. But we're seeing a little bit of a slower adoption in organizations really taking it by the horns and saying, how are we going to adopt this into our workflows and change who we are and transform our organization? So really what we're seeing right now are people using it to improve certain job tasks, but not necessarily, putting it into a full workflow change.
Jeff, can this type of AI, can it learn what your individual voice is? Can it learn how you as an employee of HTI or HTI as a brand itself, how you think and how you want to talk?
It can, and the system itself, and we're talking about ChatGPT, that's one of 4 main ones. But in ChatGPT and all of the other ones like Gemini or Llama or Anthropic's Perplexity, they all have that capability to learn your voice. But they also have the capability to be customized. So since we're talking about ChatGPT, if you're in ChatGPT, at the bottom left-hand side is your name. If you will click on your name, you can then go customize that and tell the model everything about you. What your background is, what voice you want to speak in. Do you want to be chatty? Do you want to be professional? What voice do you want to speak in at a level? Do you want to be at a graduate level, a college level, a high school level, a 7th grade level? You can tell them about your background, how many kids you have, everything. And the more you put in there, the more it sounds like you and will learn from you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Ashley, are people, and Jeff mentioned this, are you finding that people are nervous about it? Are you finding that people are hesitant about it, that they are cautious? Are they excited, or all of the above?
I think it's all of the above, and it depends on what they're utilizing it for. So, for instance, I was at a conference a couple of months ago, and they were talking about applicants. They had done it was Bullhorn, that's where our ATS is, and they were talking about the applicants and whether or not they were willing to talk to an AI bot in order to get screened for a position, and over 80% said they were willing to do it. And I think the reason why is because if you think about it now, the biggest complaint you get in recruiting is I turn in all of these applications and I never hear anything back. So at least they're getting a quick response. They're able to find out what's going on with their application. So if it's in terms of improving the speed of response, I think they're open to it. I think where they get nervous is when it's in the final selection process. And maybe it didn't screen my resume correctly and it feels like they need a little bit more, human judgment to make the call. That's when you start to see people get a little bit nervous about the utilization of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so how do you guard against it? If you are the hiring company,
Yeah, in terms of guarding against it with the utilization of the
Making
tools
sure
of
that
bias.
their concerns don't really come to fruition. I mean, you can't just let it go off and do whatever it wants to do, right? There has to be human. You have to hold hand a little bit.
Absolutely. I think you always have to have, I think you have to have people and machines and they have to work together, right? You're using it to make us better and more efficient and effective, but not necessarily to do our jobs. You're always going to have that human touch to overlook the output that comes out and ensure it's what you're looking for. The people that do talk about bias, honestly, you do have to be careful, to your point, that you don't train it to have a bias based on what you've entered into the system. But I know there's a lot of work being done on the technology so that it'll be able to identify if it's been trained to a bias, and it actually potentially will help us call out where we're going to put bias into the system. So, I think we're going to see more and more improvement in that area.
Actually hit on a key point there, and one of us, it's called hallucinations. And so you just can't take what comes out of a chat GPT and run with it without reviewing it.
Yes.
You would never want to be able to do that, because even though it's about 97 to 98% accurate, that 3% can bite you, especially in the world of HR where you might have some legal issues associated with that.
Right.
Yes.
Let's talk about other things that HR departments should be utilizing in the AI world other than something like ChatGPT.
Well, there are a lot of what they call small language models, SMLs, which are very specific to a specific discipline. There are small language models out there for HR. There are small language models out there for determining where cancer is. And so it's a model that is optimized for something very, very specific. So that's one piece. The other thing I would say is everybody ought to choose one or two LLMs that we've talked about. Everybody should be using for presentations something like a Beautiful.ai or a Canva or Slides.ai.io, something to put together your presentations for things like that. And then you should start reading about and understanding something called agentic AI.
I was going to say that too.
And especially in somewhere like HR that they have so many processes, many of those processes can now be turned over to AI and let them follow that process. And what it does is it doesn't just go to ChatGPT and ask questions. It might interact with your Microsoft. It might then interact with what's a HR system?
Here, HRIS.
HRIS,
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, what I tell a lot of the people that we work with, if it's something that's documented, repeatable, and auditable, you should be looking at whether you can use agentic AI to do it, because that way you, instead of having your employees spend time on these things that are just task oriented following a process, you can have the tools do it for us and then use them to leverage in problem solving, strategic matters, things like that. So I agree. I think 100% that's where HR or where AI is headed.
And I would say if it's not, instead of using agentic AI, which some people go, what does that mean? I would say if you use standard operating procedures in your business, you can automate those.
Yes.
And that's what agentic AI is, automating standard operating procedures.
For example, you're starting to see systems where someone could put in a requisition and the system is able to analyze the job description, write the job posting, post it to your job boards, and start receiving applications without a recruiter ever touching the requisition.
All right, so two things actually. One, at HTI, I would assume, I don't know, that you have one or two or three experts that in this world that are helping guide you down a road to where you as a company, and we'll get to your clients in a second, but to where you as a company know where to go, what to do, and how to do it.
So we right now are really leveraging our vendors, to be honest. So all of the different tools that you have, and that's where I tell a lot of HR professionals to start. Start with the tools you have. Any major platform right now is starting to build AI into their platform. So start with the vendors who are developing this technology to put into the platforms you're currently using and leverage them to be able to learn how it's going to work most effectively in your work. So we have them coming alongside of us and helping train on what tools we should be
Well, that makes perfect sense. And so do you find yourself when talking to clients playing matchmaker there when they have the questions and hooking them up with the right vendors and just being that go-between? Does that happen?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. When we're talking to them, I mean, a lot of times we don't necessarily encourage them to bring on new vendors until they've analyzed what they've already had. But if they are missing a vendor, to your point, using Canva to help develop, programs and things like that, connecting them with what tools are going to make them more effective and efficient.
Yep. Let's talk about, Jeff, and I'd like to hear both of you comment on this. Let's talk about the things that we have to be cautious about. Okay. Right now, we're operating without a whole lot of regulation. And you could argue with no regulation.
Yeah.
And it's going to be up to, if you get global about it, it's going to be up to different countries to regulate however they choose. And that can be a dangerous situation. We don't want the Terminators coming and taking over our world, I guess. But so what do we do? How do we proceed here, Jeff?
Well, you're right. There's not many laws out there right now, and Silicon Valley has pushed back really, really hard against any type of government intervention right now because there's so much innovation going on right now. And you don't want to stifle that innovation when your biggest competitor, China, has almost no rules around it and they are pushing forward very, very quickly. But that being said, you have to be very, very careful. And as companies, you can put in compliance and rules inside of your own company to help you get control of these systems. You will not be able to control the system, but you can put processes and procedures in place around that to be able to get control of some of these uses. But I would also say, because I know some companies that have said nobody in the company can use any type of large language model. That's unrealistic. That's like telling somebody when Excel spreadsheets came out that you cannot use Excel spreadsheets. Well, you're going to get behind and you're going to have a very hard time getting caught up. So you're better to figure out how to control it than to just try to have nothing to do with it.
Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to get you out of here on this. Let's talk about what people can do right now. What they should do. Hey, look, they're sitting there. There's 10 different paths they can go down. They have paralysis by analysis. Jeff, where do they start?
First and foremost, I think that you should pick which tool you want to use, whether it's ChatGPT or Gemini or Llama or Anthropic. I happen to use multiple tools because I have found that each one of them is better at certain things than others, which could be a whole discussion on its own. But then I would take a prompt engineering course, and prompt engineering just means learning how to ask the question. I don't think we have enough time to get into that today. There's something called the Clear framework. Anybody can go Google that or drop that into ChatGPT and ask what it is, and it just gives you a format of how to create a prompt. But I'll give you a shortcut. Put a prompt in however you want to put it in, and then ask ChatGPT to create a clear framework prompt for what you just entered, and it will write it for itself, and then you can turn around and enter it in.
That's right.
So that's one piece of it. The second thing is if I was in HR, I would get AI certified for HR. You can do it through LinkedIn Learning. You can do it through Coursera. But if you really want to get the top-notch, the Harvard University level type, Penn State has about a 9-hour course for AI certification in HR, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
And I think even if you don't have that, I mean, I think just start small.
Yes.
I mean, start to gain confidence in the tools. Use it to rewrite an email. Use it to put data in. Use it for prompts like you're doing. And before you even get there, just start to gain confidence in the systems. That's what I tell people all the time. Start using it. And then be the leader in your organization. You know, this is an opportunity for HR professionals to really lead the charge on this and not have to be the cleanup crew in the background. So this isn't changing the whole framework of how we run our businesses. We're not just implementing a new tool. We're rewriting a chapter for our organizations on how we're going to utilize people, productivity, and processes. And so have HR take the charge on that.
Actually, just said something that reminded me of this. I think HR needs to be at the table
Yes.
when the executive team is talking about how they're going to use large language models. Don't let it get pushed off to IT. It should be something that HR should lead and run, just like they do any other development programs that they have inside of a company. So they need to have a place at the table.
Good stuff. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rick.
Absolutely.
You're welcome. Folks, that's Ashley Gross. She is the Vice President of Workplace Strategies at HTI, or Human Technologies Incorporated, and that is Jeff Yelton. He is the CEO at Cphere. All right, folks, that's another episode of Let's Talk HR. Appreciate you joining us, and we will see you next time.